So we all know by now that after 8 seasons in Dallas, Dez Bryant was ultimately sent packing by the Cowboys. And we all know that he had some recent thoughts on social media about it and all of this and all of that. But the reality is that the Dez Bryant of now is not the Dez Bryant of 3, 4, 5 years ago. The Dez Bryant of now was getting paid superstar wide receiver money by the Cowboys to be an average wide receiver. His production was down significantly over the past 3 years. He was battling injuries. He was having trouble with consistency, a lot of different things. And in part with Dak Prescott as a young quarterback trying to develop and find his own niche, trying to sit there and force feed the ball to Dez so much in that offense at times was a great detriment without a lot of production to really justify that continuance on trying to force the ball to him. So you look at Dez Bryant, just a little bit shy of 30, 8 years in the league. Everybody believes he's lost a step. Everybody believes that he's a big headache. Everybody believes that he can be a bit of a locker room cancer, that he can be difficult to coach and all of that. And a lot of those things are probably true, and they sure appear at times to be true. And sometimes the way he has conducted and carried himself has not always been the best, especially over the past couple of years when his production doesn't match the personality. More so, the personality doesn't match the lack of production. Personality only gets bigger while the production decreases. So you're at a pivotal turning point in the career of Dez Bryant. He's out there in the open market. Might not get signed. Could find somebody else to latch onto, draw some guaranteed money for another year or 2 or 3, and kind of fade off into oblivion and be talked about way more than he really deserves to be. Or he can take this as a challenge to himself to remake his entire image and frankly remake, remold, reshape, and create an entire second run of career for himself. It's not impossible to think that he could do that. This is still a very talented guy. Maybe he hasn't always taken the art, the craft of being a wide receiver as seriously as he needed to, in part because he could coast by on that talent, and he's no longer able to strictly coast by on that talent. But it's really easy to write him off based off of the way the past couple of years in Dallas went. But it might be foolish to do so. Excuse me. And that's why, with these recent reports about him being interested in the Cleveland Browns getting ready to host him for a visit, Dez Bryant showing up in Cleveland at the airport, signing Cleveland Browns helmets. It's got everybody talking about the potential, the possibility of Dez Bryant signing to play for the Cleveland Browns in 2018. And I have to say, from all parties' perspectives here, this thing makes sense. It makes a world of sense. And it really should happen. From the Cleveland Browns standpoint, you're 0-16 last year, 1-15 the year before that. Everybody, and especially because Joe Thomas is now retired, everybody is touchable on that roster. That sounded really bad. What that means is everybody's replaceable. Nobody is that dude. I don't care if it's Myles Garrett, the dude you took #1 overall this year. Everybody. Up to and including Baker Mayfield, even though that's unrealistic because you just took him #1 overall. But the point is nobody has established themselves as the true blue guy, the untradeable, can't get rid of no matter what type of dude. You went 0-16. You literally have flaws everywhere. And if you don't think so, you're crazy. You traded away former first-round pick Corey Coleman for fucking peanuts. You got Josh Gordon sitting there, falling off the wagon, going into rehab or whatever the hell he's doing again. So what the hell do you have at wide receiver for this team? You've got Jarvis Landry, who's an accomplished NFL wide receiver and clearly going to be the leader of that wide receiver unit. And frankly, a lot of unproven talent. Or guys like Antonio Callaway, who are idiots that can't get out of their own way and impede their own massive talents. A guy like Dez Bryant can come in and be a positive. You get him in on a short-term deal, wanting to prove himself to the point where, frankly, if we're being honest, he had to go to the Cleveland fucking Browns in order for somebody to give him a contract, to somebody to give him a chance. You're going to get pissed off, motivated Dez. Like pissed off, motivated, he might actually work harder and play better. because he's trying to play for the second half of his career. He's trying to play for that next big contract. This is one of these win, 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 very little to lose, very little risk, just freaking do it type of things. Because if Des Bryant sits there and comes in and he's a pain in the ass and he's a diva and he's a cancer and everything else, you've only given him, let's say, a 1-year deal. You had money to spend anyways under the cap. Send his ass home. And you'll suck anyways, if you want to look at it from that perspective. You literally have nothing to lose here. But you could have a lot to gain. You could get somebody like Des Bryant in that potentially, if he chose to accept a different role, and not saying he's going to, but not saying he's not either, because we don't know. He hasn't been put in that situation yet. He might look at this as a second chance, understand that he's got to make some improvements, that he's got to change some things about himself, and he could be a positive influence on that young Browns receiving corps. He could also potentially come in and be a productive guy. Maybe not a superstar ever again, but he could still be a productive wide receiver. And at this point in time, the Cleveland Browns need as many productive NFL players as they possibly get. With very little potential financial risk, if the numbers make sense, why the hell wouldn't you bring in Des Bryant on a short-term deal? Especially if you're envisioning at some point in time this year, you're going to flip to Baker Mayfield. If you're going to do that, then you would think you would want to do everything you possibly could to help out Baker as much as you possibly can. And Jarvis Landry and an on-again, off-again rehab and Josh Gordon isn't enough to get the damn job done. Even with a future stud like David Njoku at tight end, you want more. Des Bryant could be a little bit more. There's literally very little risk here. You lose, what, a little bit of money? And if he's a headache, you freaking send him home or cut him any damn ways. He didn't lose anything except a bunch more games. Whereas the gamble could pay off in helping your young quarterback potentially develop. Maybe your team wins some games this year. You start to change the culture of that organization. Des Bryant comes in, he's a good soldier, and he's a bit of a productive player, and he helps out. What's the risk here? And as far as Des Bryant goes, you have a bad stigma about you. You have a really bad aura about you. That's why you're having to go seek out the Cleveland Browns to try and get a damn deal done. This is your chance potentially to remake your image and remake and relaunch your entire career. It is up to Des Bryant and Des Bryant alone what he could make out of this potential second chance, out of this opportunity. Personally, I hope he would go to Cleveland and be a good, productive player. It would be a great story to see the Cleveland Browns be a competitive, viable team. Something they really haven't been since they came back into existence in '99. One playoff appearance in all those seasons? Yeah, not competitive, not viable. They're the skid marks of the NFL for a damn reason. Go in there. Be humble. Work your ass off. Do what the coaches ask you to do. Do what the coaches tell you to do. Be a positive influence in that wide receiver room. Be a positive influence for Tyrod Taylor and Baker Mayfield. Bring some of your big-time experience from Dallas to Cleveland. Help change the culture and the environment of that locker room, of that organization. Because if you could do that, Des, it's going to be hard for people to talk shit about you anymore. It's going to be hard for people to knock you anymore. Because if you can help the Cleveland Browns become a winning, viable, competitive team, and you decided long-term you wanted to be there, and you help get them to the playoffs, you'll be loved in Cleveland forever! To me, this makes so much sense for the Cleveland Browns. Because there's so little risk and so much potential reward. And for Des Bryant, I think it's a huge potential win and a great opportunity for him too. You go there and you be a good soldier. You go there and be productive and be a positive influence. Other teams are going to want you, which will help you do what? Make more money. This is one of these for all parties involved. Win, 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 win. Doesn't matter anything else. Just find a way to get it done and do it deals.